From year to year, month to month, week to week, and day to day, people across the world are obsessed with a phenomenon that is professional wrestling. But why? 101 reasons to love professional wrestling. There are many components of professional wrestling that should be both understood and celebrated, in no particular order. Mystery opponents and partners. Not knowing what's around the corner is always a thrill. It could be an unwrapped gift. It could be a blind date. It could be walking through your yard with your eyes closed. In movies, comic books, and the arts, there have always been stories of a protagonist taking on an unknown foe. However, an organized fight or a sporting event, the fighter, player, or team always goes into the competition knowing who will be on the other side. Professional wrestling takes the unknown magic of the arts and combines it with the organized competition of a big game. This is in the form of mystery opponents and partners. This professional wrestling trope is ultimately about bated anticipation. It's not knowing who the participants of the match will be. A match is set. The wrestler enters the ring. Then said wrestler and the audience all wait. The wonder of who will be the next wrestler introduced is anticipated. Enter the mystery opponent. The piece of storytelling goes back to the roots of modern wrestling. A mystery opponent occurs formally as dictated by the company, or it can happen organically. When an established star, be it champion or not, has a standing open challenge, it's always interesting to see who will accept it. The more recurring storytelling touchpoint is where the authority figure will have the wrestler face off against someone of their choosing that will be revealed at match time. One of the most historic mystery opponent moments occurred at SummerSlam in 1988. The Ultimate Warrior's entrance blew the roof off the arena as he showed up to quickly defeat the Honky Tonk Man and thus win the Intercontinental Championship. There are some instances where the mystery opponent becomes a regular occurrence. The Royal Rumble will often reveal all of the competitors, but sometimes they hold a few back to allow for speculation. The two biggest examples of this would be John Cena making his surprise comeback, or Edge returning from years of an injury-related accident. Then there are surprise debuts in the Royal Rumble, like when AJ Styles made his long-awaited arrival in shocking fashion. All Elite Wrestling has a mystery opponent built into their battle royals as an unknown and unannounced competitor enters as the Joker card. Sometimes there's a lot of hype, but that does not exactly live up to the promotion. This would be the case with the Black Scorpion from WCW in the early 90s. It's hit or miss in result, but the execution of the concept is where the magic is. A mystery partner is exactly how it sounds. This variation of the idea involves a match that has one tag team taking on one person who is not revealed who would be their partner. At the Survivor Series in 1990, Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase introduced his mystery partner in The Undertaker. Owen Hart would declare he had a mystery partner for his tag team title match at WrestleMania 11. This turned out to be Hall of Famer Yokozuna. The New World Order would kick off with a mystery third man that would be revealed as Hulk Hogan turning heel on his beloved following. We also saw Dude Love debut as the mystery partner to Stone Cold Steve Austin on an Attitude Era episode of Monday Night Raw. The same could be said for Sasha Banks' surprise partner in the debuting from NXT, Bayley. Then there were moments like 1996 where Jimmy Superfly Snuka was a letdown at his Survivor Series appearance. Using a mystery partner is also a way of replacing someone who is either hurt or cannot make the show. At No Way Out of Texas in 1998, Shawn Michaels could not participate, so for one night, D-Generation X would team up with Savio Vega. No matter what, the mystery is still there. Fans never really know who is coming out of that curtain. If it is a big surprise, then it makes for a magical moment. If it's a letdown, it's still a moment, regardless of magic. Because whether it be a gasp to the shocker, a sigh of relief, or a groan of disappointment, it's that frozen heartbeat that precedes it that truly matters. Loser leaves town. No one wants to be left out. We need to be part of a community. Our society is based on being a part of something greater than yourself. When that is abruptly taken away, all hope is lost. Outside of being a social outcast, there are exiled norms in our culture, with the two biggest examples being within the law of the land and within the rules of the house. If you are a criminal, you are sent to prison. If you are a disobedient child, you are sent to your room. The lore of someone being exiled has been around since the beginning of time and is carried through every step of storytelling. As the cowboys would say, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. So this results in a duel or confrontation where one party is exiled from either the town or life. This does not happen in sports. There is nothing in contracts that an athlete must leave if they lose. However, it does happen in professional wrestling. A loser leaves town match is a match stipulation where the loser, it's where the loser leaves town. It is traditionally set up in the result of two wrestlers hating each other so much that, like a cowboy, the promotion is not big enough for the both of them. The behind the scenes working of this often for two reasons: contracts or retirement. When a wrestler's stay at a wrestling company is over, one way to send them off is by booking them in a match like this. Their contracted amount of dates are up and they are moving on to the next territory or endeavor. This was much more common in the territory days where wrestlers would travel around the world like a band of gypsy carnival workers. The older generations would keep their act fresh by hitting up new regions for an extended stay. But this stay wouldn't be extended too far. Then it would be on to the next. It is said that professional wrestlers are like the mafia because once you're in, you're always in. And this could be an opportunity to have a big send-off with a big loser leaves town match. In some of these cases, it is not exactly the loser that will leave, but rather one wrestler putting their career on the line. This has resulted in favor of one putting their livelihood on the line, but in more memorable cases, it would be the final chapter of a celebrated career. The who is who of professional wrestling's legendary history has been involved in a loser leaves town match at some point. Ric Flair would put his career on the line a few times. He would defeat Vader at Starrcade in 1993, so no careers were lost. However, Ric Flair would lose to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24. Yet he would still show up in TNA for a few matches. WrestleMania 7 saw Macho Man Randy Savage end his career by losing to the Ultimate Warrior. He would be back about a year later. Shawn Michaels would put his career on the line and lose to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. The Heartbreak Kid would stay true to his word until a random one-off match in Saudi Arabia. Everyone comes back. Whether it's preferred or not, they always come back. However, Gorilla Monsoon would end his career by the hands of Ken Patera in a Loser Leaves Town match way back in 1980. A more recent example saw Mance Warner defeat MJF in a Loser Leaves Town match, but both performers would disappear from MLW in this situation. There are a multitude of ways to settle a score, and when those ways stop working, and the hatred and violence escalates to a boiling point, despite the fans' chants of fight forever, there must be a finale. Nothing is forever. Wrestlers leave and wrestlers return. A Loser Leaves Town match provides temporary closure, an exclamation point on a bitter rivalry. Injury comebacks. Everyone likes a good comeback. Everyone can appreciate the pain and trauma of an injury. We fall from our bikes before we can soar. But we get back up, we dust ourselves off, and we keep going. We love to see that person confined to a wheelchair or crutches take that first step back. In sports, there are comebacks every week, but yet the bigger comebacks are the ones that get remembered. The likes of Michael Jordan over his whole career, Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in 9 seconds against the New York Knicks in 1995, and many more have proved this very true. This would be Tiger Woods returning to win a major, Lance Armstrong beating cancer to have a successful return, and Kerry Strug's gold medal performance at the 1996 Olympics. You would have to ask, would the movie Rocky had been as enthralling if he had not been beaten up for a while before victory? An underdog comeback is always a sweet sight, but an underdog with a limp and multiple obstacles behind them is that much sweeter. Professional wrestling is no stranger to this hypothetical sweetness. Injury comebacks in professional wrestling happen for a few reasons outside of the obvious. Yes, sometimes an injury comeback is because the wrestler is really injured and needs to tend to their ailment. This has given the fans some great moments. Edge returning at the Royal Rumble after being absent for years due to a career-ending injury. The same could be said for Shawn Michaels, Daniel Bryan, and others who took an extended break from being an active wrestler due to career-ending injuries. However, it could be used to give someone time off to recuperate with nagging pains, or to give a wrestler an opportunity to return with freshness. John Cena returned after less than 6 months to the 2008 Royal Rumble to one of the biggest reactions in professional wrestling history. Shane McMahon comes and goes. The same could be said for Brock Lesnar. Chris Jericho has used time off to reinvent his character multiple times, and The Rock showing up is always a possibility. Even when it's promoted, the anticipation causes stir among the wrestling fans, and it's truly a beautiful day. But when professional wrestling really wants to shock the crowd, the comeback is kept a surprise. When that music hits and the returning superstar makes their way to the ring, you never know what is gonna happen next. The tag rope. There are rules to everything, be it the law, school, work, or play. We must all abide by life's set of rules. It's not just a commandment of how to live life. It is also in every game we play. If we pull the wrong card, we have no choice but to go to jail. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. We must touch all 4 bases in order to get a run when playing baseball. When playing tag on the playground, we are only safe
at home base. Like everything, professional wrestling has many rules, but specifically pertaining to the tags in tag team matches. In the world of professional wrestling, tag team matches are a substantial segment of the variety of bouts that occur on nearly every card. The big draws of history, the most historic feuds, and final match of the night is almost always the big one-on-one matchup. These are the main events of most big events. However, tag team wrestling is still very important if it's promoted that way. It is said and argued that the first recorded tag team match was in 1901 in San Francisco. Regardless of when, this match type definitely has its long-earned legacy. This is where the rules and tag ropes come to play. In a traditional tag team match, the rules in place are that one partner from each team must remain outside of the ring until they are tagged in. Most would think that it would be simple as tagging the partner, and that is that. However, there is a tag rope, another little component in the pageantry that is part of the show that is professional wrestling. A rope that hangs from the top corner of the ring that wrestlers are to hold on to while being tagged. This is in place to ensure that the wrestler is not going to go too far to make the tag. Otherwise, a wrestler could circle the ring and make tags as they please. Essentially, it holds the tagged wrestler to be in their designated corner. Good guys do it, and bad guys don't. Professional wrestling fans with a keen and knowing eye will notice that the tag ropes are often used on the back left and front right sides of the hard camera shot. This is to allow the good guy teams to showcase their emotion to the viewing crowd at home. But more importantly, we, the viewer, gets to see the apron standing face on the outside desperately reach in for the inevitable hot tag. And hot tag it is, unless they are not holding the tag rope. Logos. Symbols have been part of civilization since civilization has begun. Ancient symbols were found in caves from times way before us. These small artistic pieces represent culture, clubs, societies, and in modern times, used as a branding logo. Since the 1800s, thanks to the rise of the printing press, brands have been able to market themselves with mass-produced physical materials. Iconic logos have included Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Nike, Apple, and Starbucks, just to name a small few that have become embedded into our modern culture. Rock bands and other musical artists would utilize logos to capture the vibe of the artist and to give fans something to doodle on their notebooks in class. In sports, the team logo is on jerseys displayed everywhere and worn by fans. This is how we identify the team and check the box scores. A logo needs to be versatile, easy to recognize, unique, and something that can stand out as a non-written depiction of personality. It would be silly not to imagine professional wrestling adopting the same form of advertising and branding as every other company or artist. In professional wrestling, it is said that image is everything. Since its earliest days, the idea has been to sell tickets and make money. With this comes promotional materials to do just that. Wrestling companies would have logos and symbols to represent their business since the industry got off the ground. The WWF logo would evolve to the boxy and iconic WWF logo. Then this would evolve into the scratchy logo of the Attitude Era. They would eventually get the F out and then switched to a sharper, lightning-like logo of the modern PG era. Other companies would naturally have their logo to represent their product. Professional wrestling is now praised for its spectacular production quality, but the design work throughout history goes unheralded. Exact roots are easy to debate, but logos were around as long as something could be printed and sold in wrestling. In the 1980s, logos really took off as merchandising became a mainstream tactic. There were many famous logos used for media, merchandise, and for production purposes. The likes of Hulk Hogan's Hulkamania, Roddy Piper's Hot Rod, the Ultimate Warrior's makeup logo, Randy Savage's Macho Man text with sunglasses, and numerous more have been embedded into the minds of all longtime fans. As time moved forward, so did the graphic design of some very memorable logos. Sometimes the branding will catch on in a huge way, like an NWO logo, the DX logo, Austin 316, Shawn Michaels' Broken Heart, Razor Ramon's Razor Blade, Bret Hart's Winged Skull, the Hardy Boys symbol, Undertaker's X and T, CM Punk's Fist and Bolt, and all of those iconic emblems. Of course, we relate this logo to the performer, and this makes a huge difference in how it's remembered. However, even logos of those who did not catch on as big as those Hall of Fame performers are still memorable to many longtime fans. A great logo does not automatically make the performer, but it sure as hell helps sell those t-shirts. Punching the air in desperation. When all hope is lost, we do what we have to do. Desperation is a form of panic that results in rash or extreme behavior. In human nature, the most carnal display of this is fighting for survival. It is an animalistic urge to keep going, even though the odds are completely against you. A horrendous example of this is a trapped rat that will gnaw their own limb off to escape. It does not have to be that serious. A losing sports team can also go for a Hail Mary play in last-ditch efforts to get the win. It could as easily be someone doing whatever they can to get out of a situation that they really want to get out of. It could be a physical feat or doing something a little crazy to change one's circumstances. There are numerous situations where hope is lost, or so we think, and the brutality that is professional wrestling. There are many instances where a wrestler has to resort to cheating to win. This is often a bad guy tactic. However, sometimes a handful of tights or feet on the ropes are used to squeak out the victory. Eddie Guerrero would lie, cheat, and steal with a smile on his and the crowd's faces. Ric Flair was dubbed the dirtiest player in the game for a reason, but some acts of physical panic are the result of getting beaten down. After a long, grueling fight, there comes a time where a match can break down to a blow-for-blow fist fight. Blows are traded between fighters, and it is inevitable that one takes the best of it. This often results in a dramatic point that is a sight to be seen. One wrestler swings wildly, mentally and physically depleted, and punches the air in desperation. They are all but knocked out on their feet, but their momentum carries on. Lefts and rights are thrown to the wind before they are finally taken out. This is the epitome of professional wrestling minutia. It's a small detail to complement the big picture that is the match and show. but it's also a feeling that anyone who has ever given their all, but came up short, can relate to. It's said that it's always most honorable to go down swinging. Sometimes that includes punching the air in desperation. You never know what's going to connect. You might as well just close your eyes and swing away. Taunts. When someone is successful, it is not unheard of for them to celebrate. This happens even on the field of competition. In the heat of battle, one celebration could also be considered a form of reactionary disrespect. It is an insult in the form of a gesture. The best example of this would be the end zone dances that a football player would bust out in during a touchdown celebration. However, the most simplistic would be the good old middle finger being held up in the air. If there is an open display of flaunting a celebration in the world of sports, it only pales in comparison to the taunts in professional wrestling. The generic form of this, and likely the longest form of taunting in wrestling, would have to be the oh-so-cliche muscle flex. This would definitely evolve as wrestlers would create their own victory poses. As things became more theatrical, taunts would begin to occur after not only when someone is victorious, but when a big move occurs, or just to antagonize the opponent. Ric Flair's strut is known by most fans, but it was something done long before him. John Cena would remind people that they cannot, in fact, see him. Eddie Guerrero and many others would have their own dance. Diamond Dallas Page brought the diamond hand gesture long before Jay-Z. Randy Orton just raises his arms. Big Show just raises one. Cactus Jack would bang bang. The Hardys throw up their fingers. And Rob Van Dam only has to use his thumbs. Shinsuke Nakamura will often bust out his come on pose. The Rock has many of these up his elbow pad and is never shy to challenge others to bring it. Booker T would celebrate with a spinneroonie. Every successful and unsuccessful performer has their signature poses, but some gestures are not as family friendly. The middle finger is part of Stone Cold Steve Austin's legacy, as any of his character traits. The D-Generation X crotch chop is something a child should not be doing. Rick Rude would swivel his hips, and there are numerous more that have made their way into the pro wrestling ethos. These gestures are not only done by those in the ring, it's something you'll see in any crowd of excited fans. This is just another way for a fan to show their love for their favorites and connect with a community of fans who feel the same. In wrestling, that connection is everything, even if it does make us all look pretty silly. Face turns. We are taught there are good and bad people at a young age. There are saints and sinners. We are to aspire for sainthood by bringing kindness and good to the world. We are to reject sin, show discipline, and not exploit in our favor, and not show disregard for others. No one's moral compass is written in stone. People can grow, and intentions can transform. This is a story that has been told in all mediums. A character sees a proverbial light and undergoes a transformation. There have been numerous change of heart stories to both entertain and enlighten. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol tells the tale of Ebenezer Scrooge going from miserable old man to a changed man with a big heart. The 1993 comedy classic Groundhog Day sees the egotistical jerk of a man redeem himself at the end of a story as someone that had learned to appreciate life and the importance of good deeds. In professional wrestling, there are these same moments of redemption. A bad guy has a turning point in their character arc where they no longer portray evil. It could be a split-moment decision of right and wrong, where doing good is the chosen path. In wrestling, this happens to keep characters fresh, to tell a new story, or to ignite a huge reaction. If a wrestler has been a bad guy for an extended period of time, the reaction starts to fade, and their impact on the show has lessened. Then a change is written in. There are other situations where the wrestler has done all they can as a heel, and to level up and advance towards the main event, their character must grow. That does not always take away from the story being told. From the fan perspective, to shock and surprise, we have been conditioned to hate a character, and then like a flip of a switch, we are given a reason to cheer them on in their new journey. Many wrestlers will start off with one allegiance and move on to the other and then back and forth. This is a very useful device to keep a great career going. The Undertaker would start off as a bad guy, but this would shift once he rejected the sadistic Jake the Snake Roberts in the early 1990s. These are all welcome surprises that have been part of what has kept the storylines of professional wrestling prospering. To list all the face turns in professional wrestling would be to tell a tale of 100 years of detailed stories, but there are a few from the WrestleMania era of note. At WrestleMania 7, Randy Savage lost a career versus career match against the Ultimate Warrior. This would be the moment that he would be able to change to a good guy. WrestleMania would see multiple big moments like this. In anticipation of WrestleMania 21, Batista quit the heel faction Evolution in favor of standing up for both himself and what was right. WrestleMania 13 featured one of the best matches and biggest moments in wrestling. Bret the Hitman Hart entered as the good guy, while emerging Stone Cold Steve Austin entered as heel. By the end of the amazing story these two told, the roles were reversed. It has also happened after other grueling matches. In 1989, at NWA's Clash of Champions 9, Terry Funk would shake Ric Flair's hand after losing a classic I Quit match. Everyone is entitled to a change of heart, and in professional wrestling, hearts change all the time. On a 1997 episode of Monday Night Raw, Vince McMahon stood in front of a camera and proclaimed that we no longer live in a world that is black and white, and that reality is shades of gray. Good guys could have edge, bad guys could have positive attributes, and there would be no absolutes. This is more aligned with the reality of human nature. Professional wrestling is definitely not the real world. The reality of it is a beast of its own. In the great escape that is professional wrestling, we need the protagonist just as much as the antagonist to tell a great story, even if that means the roles must shift from time to time. Patriotism. Having a sense of pride in your domain is something instilled in our very being. There, we wake up each day and lie our heads to sleep in the same place. It's home. It's where we experience life. Holding a sentiment for the land that we represent is part of our culture on many levels. Everyone has established roots somewhere. We represent our domestic domicile, our cities, our states, and our countries. Pride in one's country is patriotism. Flags are waved, anthems are sang, pledges are made and traditions are established. There have always been stories in history of existence of war and dispute. Nothing is perfect, and perfectly legitimate grievances could be had with one's homeland, but these cultures continue to carry on. Children are raised, lives are lived, and these countries continue on with the culture. Even in the most genuine thought, it is hard not to have some sense of patriotism. Professional wrestling is a collective of cultures, so it is a perfect vessel for a display of patriotism. The early days of wrestling always had a showcase of country pride. This would just be someone wrestling and representing their homeland. Around World War II, wrestling would mirror what was happening in the real world and introduce the trope of evil foreign wrestler. These performers, sometimes not actually from the country they claim, would display sad stereotypes of foreign lands. Hawaiian-born Tojo Yamamoto wrestled as an evil Japanese wrestler in the 1960s and 70s. He would travel the southern states of America and utilize the Pearl Harbor bombing to rile up the crowds. Ivan Koloff, a Canadian playing a Russian, used the Cold War as his heat-seeking catalyst. There would be the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Colonel De Beers, Haku, Kamala, and the great Yokozuna. Then these anti-American wrestlers would battle it out with wrestlers who were portrayed as over-the-top pro-American heroes. Seeing a wrestler come to the ring with an American flag was an easy way to pander to the home country fans. Hulk Hogan was a flag-waving hero that would take on all evildoers, including the foreign heels. But even outside of him, it would be hard not to put patriotic characters Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Sergeant Slaughter on the same level of jingoistic American fodder. Others like Del Wilkes' patriot character, Lex Luger, and Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle have been a few of many more who have used American pride to rally the American fans. These characters are completely outdated. Thankfully, this trope did begin to evolve. There are many wrestlers who are from different cultures, but they are not always defined as a bad guy just because they're from a different country. There are still bad guys from every culture, but it's no longer mandatory. Bret the Hitman Hart would be a proud Canadian wrestler, but the majority of his televised career saw him as one of the most beloved wrestlers in the world for a generation. There are plenty of international talent who are proud of where they come from, but they are also appreciated for the person they are and the morals they stand by. Times need to continue with change, but the landscape of wrestling is full of representation as new paths continue to be paved. Patriotism is a way to represent and open new doors. Great wrestlers connect with the crowd no matter what flag they wave, because great wrestling will always be without borders. Post-match respect. Respect is a human quality that should exist regardless of anything. Respect is a positive feeling or action shown to someone as a high regard. In many cultures, this is an esteem that is earned. Some cultures bow, smile, tip a hat, or they show respect in the form of a handshake. In competition, respect is shown between competitors once the competition is over. Professional wrestling is chaotic in its core, but those who participate and those who are fans definitely have an ethic of respect. Everyone respects the business. Like in any industry or community, the most talented and those who have put in their time typically get the most respect. Committed fans, and obviously the wrestlers, respect everything that makes wrestling wrestling. At the core of appreciation, fans should always respect their fellow human who puts their body on the line to provide this amazing form of artistic escapism. There is also a high level of respect between the wrestlers. The core of this relationship is a trust between two humans collaborating on telling a very dangerous and physical story. But the presentation of wrestling is built on good guys, bad guys, characters, and extreme competition. There have been many situations where two wrestlers take a moment after a war to share in post-match respect. The idea of wrestling is beating someone up with crazy moves, putting aside differences to recognize each other's skills, heart, passion, or for even a great match, was not always a common sight. These moments were not used very often, or without a genuine great performance being shared. As pro wrestling has progressed, sportsmanship is no longer a surprising taboo akin to amateur wrestling. Ring of Honor installed a code of honor into their matches where the competitors had to shake hands before a match. Even outside of regulated devices like this, seeing two wrestlers shake hands after a hard-fought and grueling fight is a common showcase of post-match respect. These occasions are special. It is like the show pauses just for a moment so two humans can share in a mutual appreciation. And to be able to see this is a thing of beauty.